My name is Jose Perez, and I'm an undocumented immigrant. For a lot of people who may not know what that means that I'm not a U.S. citizen. I was born in Mexico City, and my father, who is also an undocumented immigrant, was already in the United States in Alabama, and my mother, she chose to stay in Mexico City with me and my older brother. And for 3 years, that seemed to work a bit because my father would always send us back financial support, but at the same time it did not work because you've separated a family. People tell me, why didn't you come the right way? I tell them, there is no right way. At the most, even if my parents were doctors and everything and had a family member, it would still take 12 years to come to this country. So we were crossing the Texas border, and there's this river called El Rio Grande, which translates in English to the Big River. And they call it that for a reason. This river is not like the Mississippi. It's not a quiet little stream that you might see in your neighborhood or in a park. It is a roaring monster. People die every day crossing that, and I was almost one of those people who died. When we were crossing halfway through, my father said he could feel my hands slipping from his back, and fortunately, by the grace of God or maybe a miracle, I did not die. My parents were able to successfully bring me here to Alabama, and I can remember the first thing I saw was the Regent's Tower right across from this building. It was a very cloudy January winter day, and my mother was thinking, where are all the leaves on the trees? What is this place? Is it like a nuclear testing ground? And I can just remember thinking, I'm not in Mexico anymore. When I got here, I quickly adapted to the American culture. I learned English actually as my first language, and I quickly forgot about Mexico. I grew up thinking that I was American. I remember doing the Pledge of Allegiance in class and always thinking, I'm an American citizen and this is my country. I remember once in second grade having to sing the national anthem for our high school and just feeling a surge of pride in my heart, and I was just accepting that I'm an American. But around when I was in middle school, I kept hearing about immigration on the news, and I saw sort of the worried look on my mother's face whenever they were talking about this. So at one point, I just asked her, am I an undocumented immigrant? And I remember her taking my hand and looking at me with the eyes of a mother that really does not want to hurt her child and saying, yes, we're not from this country, Jose. We are from Mexico City. After finding out that I was an undocumented immigrant, I sort of felt the stigma that comes with that, knowing that you're not going to be able to pursue your dreams, that like myself and a lot of my other friends who were also undocumented, we would not be able to become what we wanted to. I'm not going to be able to become a doctor. I'm not going to be able to help people out there who really need it. My friends are not going to be able to become a lawyer or a teacher. We're having to listen to people tell us that we're going to have to stick with working at a low-paying job at a McDonald's or a Burger King. One of my teachers saw that I had passed a test with a very high grade, and she looked at me after class and told me that you can become whatever you want. There are no limits other than the ones you put on yourself, and you start fulfilling your dreams when you discover that there are no barriers to keep you from these. After listening to my teacher support me and give me the hope that finally got me out of this pit of depression, I was able to finally fulfill what she told me. I was able to finish with very high grades. I got a little gold ribbon that said I had gotten all A's and B's for the second semester, and that was really an accomplishment. I was thinking at the time that my life was finally having meaning. It was finally having direction. all the puzzle pieces were coming together. And I was looking to the future with actually a lot of hope. But then around May, our recently elected governor, Robert Bentley, had signed this bill called HB 56. At first I was really confused as to what this stood for, but then slowly I caught on. It was a bill that was not only inspired by playing out racism and xenophobia, it was also the cause for the destruction of families and like other immigrants out there, my dreams. Again, my life had no direction. I was walking in the dark, and it hurt me to see all my other friends who are also now suffering. My friend, who's only 13, her mother, before the law was signed in, she went back to Mexico. And she took her little sister, and the screams of "I want my mother back" from my friend will haunt me for the rest of my life. This bill not only destroyed a lot of people's hopes and dreams, it also separates families. You would think that I would not be able to rise from this. You would think that I would just fall and listen to what they say and go back to Mexico. But no. I've graciously and quite frankly, I've been told by people who were in my situation that you can't let this get to you. And thankfully, I've been able to connect with people who also were in my situation in other states, who are now activists in their community, who are strong supporters of immigrants like myself. And I was able to finally do what I wanted. I was able to get other people like myself across Alabama to get out of that depression. I was able to help them leave this state of mind where they feel they can't accomplish anything. And the one thing I will say to people who are against me, or the one thing I will say to people who are on the fringe of immigration, is that look at me with your heart and not your eyes. You can't punish me for 9 digits I don't have, and I'm no longer going to hide in the shadows that you place upon me, because right now, I'm an undocumented immigrant, I'm undocumented, and I'm unafraid.